narcissistic behavior, right? So some people are narcissists, and some of the behavior is harmful. So this is the things I'm going to teach you to look at. Whenever we're with someone, if we truly ask them if they care, and we can see that they sincerely care, we can also signify whether or not it's a learned behavior from childhood. If it's a learned behavior from childhood or youth, usually early on it's something they've accepted into their belief system or they didn't know otherwise. So I have a little girlfriend that's like a daughter to me, and I helped her with this. And I was just explaining to her, I said, well, you wouldn't want to be in a long-term abusive relationship. Anybody, any which one, no matter who it is, because the long-term implications of bad mental or physical health is very bad for you. You'd have to ask yourself, is it doing vital harm to me? Is it harming me? Seriously? Is it violence? Is it hurting me? Serious harm. So I would judge it by these factors because I used to be a police explorer back in college, and the one thing that I was fascinated with was domestic disputes at a young age, because I thought, man, how can I pick at that and learn from it so I have a better family unit? How can I teach us to survive from the outside world? So this is what I gotta say. There's a chance you're going to get with somebody that's an abuser, and that's what you got to know. But you also have to know to keep yourself safe always. And even with the abusers, sometimes they have to keep themselves safe. And so some things are intentional and some things aren't. But in the end, we should always act in the intentions of good motives, right? Because anything bad and satanistic, demonistic, anything negative at all, it's not from God. So we want to stick with those holy characteristics because it's like building a divine house all around us. We're building and building and building upon character. We might listen to rough music. We might have different backgrounds or tastes. That's actually okay. But remember your Christian principles and always adhere to them as your standards. Or just principles that are faith-based that work for you. Something that you know in your belief system is correct. Biblically, a lot of things are. And here's why. Because the universe was mapped on it. That God created the universe and then they made the Bible over years worth of century of different things. But the thing is, it was still people fighting over religion. What you got to do is take the overall point of the Bible and learn from the mankind story. Okay, if you can learn from all of man, if you can take the whole piece of it and then apply the literal small parts, then you're doing good. But with domestic disputes, we have violence. With family and religion, we have violence a lot of times. Extremism, sometimes we have domestic disputes, which is just basically family violence, right? So the things we can do to help ourselves is always treat each other positively and pass on positive characteristics. And here's why. Because when we do that stuff, we thrive, we grow, and we flourish, and we achieve the kingdom that God wanted us to. And the kingdom family of all the animals and the species and stuff, it will flourish when we follow these things. But when we go against the grain of the universe, when we start leaning upon our own understanding and just doing what we want without order of mind of God, then we are sinning and we will experience death, because there's a law in the Bible that says the man that sins dies. And this is true, 100% true, so never do it. But when we treat one another, when we teach and treat how we treat one another and pay attention to that, we want to make sure it's not narcissistic or harmful. Because all these hormones spread throughout our body. They can cause cancers. They can cause diseases and illnesses. And these aren't correct for a family or a world or a relationship. No matter what the cost, if they're bad enough, just leave them, So I have people with tendencies in my family, but I realized that they really genuinely did care and that it was learned. So that's the thing. We are kind of learning things at a young age from our mother and father, right? So they're learned behaviors. So you have to look at the overall attitude of the person. Are they trying to vitally harm you? And if so, remove yourself from that situation if it gets bad enough. So that's what I wanted to bring up today, because not only do we have extremism a lot of times, we also have family violence. So it's in religion, it's in the outside world, it's in families, and just overall, it's been very wicked, very corrupted. But things are looking up, and you got to keep your faith, and you got to remember, hey, don't do vitally harm to me. Ask that person, do you care about me or not? And can you prove it to me so I know, or can you reaffirm that I'm loved? Because in the end, we can't see that from day to day. We need to reassure one another that we are loved, that we do care about one another. And even though it may not seem that way, it is very true. And we often fool ourselves to think that nobody cares and live in a box in our own mind, our own psyche, our own emotions, right? And so if somebody's very narcissistic and harmful long term, if we can't get along with them, that wouldn't be good for us, right? But if it's something that's a learned behavior that we can just overlook, that's not as bad. But it depends on the person, because some people can't live with that. Some people can tolerate it. Other people just think it's nothing, So that perspective and having the correct cognitive perspective on something is really a life-saving matter. Because in the end, we would want to remove ourselves from any threats or harm to our life. So those are things I can say. Narcissism is kind of bad trait sometimes. Long term, if they're really hurting you and stuff, you may not want to do it. But if you think you can just overlook a person and work on things together, but the only way you're ever going to have a good relationship is through the threefold cord of God. Number one, only way. Keep it Christ-like, people. Keep it Christ-like. Your sisters, your brothers, love them, share in the love, forgive one another, and love one another again. It is so hard to do, but keep your marriages Christ-like. Keep your friendships, your partners, all that stuff. Keep it Christ-like and see how it repays you. It will, but that doesn't mean you have to tolerate negativity in your life. Hateful people that are trying to harm or kill you, you don't have to tolerate them at all. And I never would. I would just cut it off at the knees, because in the end, you're not going to gain positive life experiences from negative people. So, if they have to do that, they got to mind and go on their own way. And, that's Satan. Satan runs off, that's what it says. He flees. And we're supposed to resist the devil, right? Yeah, so that's what those things are to us. But just remember, some things aren't learned behaviors and aren't intentional. But if it's affecting your overall health long term, where you're ending up with cancer or some sort of disease or illness, then I would remove myself as much as possible, or go in increments and just not let, go for increments or little pieces and see how you can handle it, or even if it's good. Try to pick out godly people. Try to pick out people who are positive. Someone that will build a divine house all around them instead of otherwise. Anything negative or detracting from God is not all good. So the one thing I gotta say is, treat one another well enough that you thrive and flourish. Because in the end, all those stress hormones go to your body. They go to your boobs. They go to your vagina. They go to your chest. They go to your penis. They go to your brain. And so we wouldn't want to vitally harm one another, and we would definitely want to report it if somebody did. So don't let them pull crap on you, because they've been trying to do that to me too. But the thing is, stress hormones are harmful. They can cause diseases, and when all those things flood around your body, you're starting to become sick, because overall your mental health affects the rest of your physical health. So remember that. If someone's, vitally abusing you, remember to tell them, hey, can you treat me a little bit better? I'm starting to feel sick. I'm starting to feel, if they can't do it and they keep abusing you and it's not tolerable, then get the hell away from them. That's all I can say. And for every person out there, I hope you make it. I hope you have a good life, and I do hope you thrive. Okay? Peace out. Jess here. Bye.